When you go back to the start of that season, I think there was a pre-season trip under Holloway to Devon. So the squad was split into two separate hotels and was training at a sort of a junior amateur football club. There was a few players on trial. Richard Langley. There was no DJ at that time. No Charlie Adam. Nottingham Forest and Derby were battling to sign Sean Barker. I think Holloway was trying to sign Jason Ewell that week. Given all that was going on at that point, could you have ever envisaged the way that season ended?
Yeah, I mean that off season, that off season stroke pre-season lead up to the 2009-10 season was, as it always is at Blackpool. It's always, or was at the time, obviously, with the previous owners, the club, how it was ran. There wasn't a real amount of stability around at the time. There was a big turnover of players every year, and that was like no other. So we went to Devon pre-season, 2 different hotels. So we pull up to one hotel and we all troop off with our bags over our shoulders. And the nice girl who worked at the reception said, "Oh no, not all of you are staying here." So I think 2/3 of the group went into that hotel, and the other third, me being one of them, took our bag and we walked the mile down into the town, into the high street, where we stayed there. I think there was about 8 or 9 of us. So yeah, that pretty much kind of summed up what we were at the time, you know. But it didn't take away from the camaraderie and the team spirit that we had. If anything, that just harnessed that together, really. So yeah, it was pretty much like any other pre-season that I'd certainly had at Blackpool. And there was rumours over Sean obviously leaving. We were desperate to get Charlie in. It was doubtful whether we could financially. DJ was another player. The new manager had just come in, and Ollie, he wanted to make his mark. So there was so much doubt surrounding the club at that period of time. So it was quite miraculous how, fast forward 11 months or so, we got the outcome that we got. So it was quite incredible, really.
What was it like those first few weeks under Ian Holloway? Because you watched them training sessions, and without having 3 or 4 passes strung together, he'd be straight onto that pitch, stopping everybody, not liking what he was seeing. Did you see it coming together as quick as it did?
No, not really, in all honesty. I remember the very first meeting we had, Bloomfield Road. I think he was appointed about 10 days earlier. It was Ollie, and we'd had no interaction, or I certainly had no interaction with him. He didn't call anybody. So there was this kind of sense of anticipation into a building up to the first day that we're going to meet the new manager. So I remember getting in. It's always like the first day at school for any footballer. They'll tell you that. When you return after pre-season, you'll talk about holidays, you'll talk about family, you'll talk about nights out, you'll talk about places you've been to and seen. Added to that, the anticipation of a new manager, you know, the feeling was brilliant. What's going to happen? How are we going to do? What does the next few days entail, let alone the next 10, 11 months? So I remember getting the new kit on, which is standard. You get weighed, you get your body fats taken, which, you know, footballers generally do on the first couple of days of pre-season. And then we went upstairs to the lounge, and Ollie was already up there with his flip chart and his pen, and we sat down, and you know, his enthusiasm for the game was just something that I'd never encountered in a man before. I mean, I was 28. I pretty much, well, I thought I'd seen it all. I'd played for various managers. I'd come from a top academy into League One, and I'd been promoted into the Championship. So I thought I'd seen quite a bit in my career, Stu, until I met this man who was just a whirlwind of energy, this ball of enthusiasm that straight away just, wow, I like this, I like him, I like this tone, I like this talk, I like this belief he's trying to give us. And at the time, I centre midfield, I'd only ever played in a 4-4-2. Very limited in my experiences of doing different things and new trends and formations that were evolving. And Ollie just impressed all of these new ideas, these new concepts onto us on that first meeting, and kind of blew us away. And he said, I want this to happen. I want 3 midfielders to rotate. I want my wingers to stay high. And I want us to hit these diagonal passes. And I'm thinking, have you seen us play, mate? Like, you know what I mean? We ain't that good. Surely you've got to have some sort of realism of where we're at. We'd only just bloody stayed up by a couple of points, I think, on the last few games of the season the previous year. So I was a little bit bewildered with that. But then, you know, he kind of blows you away with a sense of we can do anything. And he said, I know it works because I've tried it on my chickens in the off season. So if they can do it, you can do it. So to that, everybody just burst into laughter. And from that minute on, I think everybody was hooked by him and what he was trying to do with the football club.
How big was that mindset change? Because you'd been successful with Blackpool, you had a promotion before, but in the Championship, the club was considered, look, staying up, that's all we look to do. So no one ever really looked past that, did they?
Yeah, I mean, Simon did great with us, created a very, very good League One squad and with some really good players. And it was a league, I think, even to this day now, Blackpool would feel they can get out of. I think many teams feel they can get out of League One. It is challenging at times, but it's a league you can certainly get out of. When we went into the Championship, you're looking around at these big teams. I mean, obviously Newcastle that season, West Brom. Trying to think off the top of my head, your Ipswiches, your Sheffield Uniteds, your Derbys. You know, the list goes on. We were probably only in it to survive, really, if I'm being honest. We had a really low budget, £4.5 million. So we were the underdogs. We had a goal difference the previous season of -11. I remember the manager, Ollie, said to us, get the 0, knock 11 goals off your deficit, and you'll finish mid-table. I'm not sure where we finished the previous season, but I remember he tried to impress that on us. You know, these baby steps that if you build upon, you can move through the gears. You can get up through the table. Certainly, promotion wasn't on the cards, and that first day in July or second day in July, it was just, can we build to the next level? Can we get from a -11 goal difference to 0? And that'll take us into mid-table, and then we'll build upon that. So it was little baby steps from time to time, week to week. We began to build, Stu.
You mentioned the 4-3-3 formation and adapting. Obviously, David Vaughan had come the previous season, and he was sort of tucked out on the left a little bit, wasn't he? And probably sort of wasted his ability a little bit. Yet this sort of experiment with a 3 brought out the best in the abilities of you, David, and Charlie as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was quite fortunate, the manager, I think, in terms of the character. I think he'll admit that, and the character of the player that he inherited. He had some hardened men, some Championship-like footballers, like myself, Evo, Taylor Fletcher. Obviously, Ormerod had his spell at the top flight with Southampton, and was, you know, more established than us. Obviously, had a better career than us, but he inherited a really good bunch of players, a really good character in the dressing room, and we didn't stand for any nonsense. And then when he decided to play this 4-3-3, you know, he already had Vaughan, albeit was a wide left player under the previous manager. He had myself, who played a certain role in the team, and obviously Charlie had his spell, his success on loan the previous year. So just adding Charlie to the mix, I think, gave a blend of 3 different characters, 3 different personalities, 3 different players, 2 left footers, 1 right footer, and the mix just kind of worked. I mean, Charlie, you know, was more eye-catching, was our best player, could score goals. Vaughan was a cultured passer, mover, you know, brought up from Crewe, and I was kind of the tough, in-your-face regainer of possession for the team, if you like. And it always needs a blend. It always needs a balance. And I think, obviously, with the introduction of Charlie, when the club invested in him, he was given that blend and balance, you know, right in front of his eyes. He didn't have to recruit or look elsewhere. He had the 3 of us under his nose, really. So, yeah, I mean, he did teach us a lot about the game, I must admit. Certainly opened my eyes to training ground practices, how we used to rotate around and we used to free up and get space and time on the ball. And it was new, it was fresh, it was creative. and really was really a light bulb moment in my career of how I can go to the next level, literally, and how I can get better and improve, because you're never too old to improve, and I found out that personally at the age of 28.
Early season, there were a few standout results. I know there was a much changed League Cup game against Wigan that the team won 4-1, and it's shown a bit of squad depth. And then there was the 2-1 victory against Newcastle. But when did you sort of firmly believe that a chance of promotion was on the cards?
Yeah, I mean, the Wigan game, I mean, we changed the side a lot that night. Just showed Ollie in his true colours, really, in terms of freshening up the team. Obviously, fans will go on and recall in the Premier League when he did that at Aston Villa, and we got fined, didn't we? So he was keen to do that right from the word go. Give players who hadn't been playing previously in league games an opportunity to go in and press. And I can't remember the exact personnel, but I remember Ishmael de Montagnac came on or started in that game, and he was outstanding. And he was this, a young boy who had Ollie given an opportunity to. So that kind of blew everybody away, winning 4-1 or 4-2, I think, against a decent Wigan side. And then obviously the Newcastle game was a Tuesday night. They were flying high, weren't they? Some big hitters, Joey Bartons, Alan Smiths, Colaccini, I think. Wage bill was huge. Had a massive following come down to Blackpool of Geordies. Big game for me personally, from me being from the area. Full house under the lights, and I think we blew them away in terms of how we played, how we approached the game. I think that night we had probably 23, 24 shots on target. It was just this wave after wave of attacking football, which probably the Blackpool fans hadn't seen in years. So we ended up winning the game 2-1, and I remember the morning afterwards, we came into training, and Ollie took us down to a cafe on the front by the Pleasure Beach, and we all sat there and spoke about the night before. So you just created this environment that bubbled along, game after game, in terms of building something special. But the one game that stand out for me, Stu, was right in March time, towards the back end of the season, was when we played Swansea at home. It was a night game, and I think we were 8th or 9th in the league, and Swansea was 6th, I think, at the time. And it was one of those 6-pointer games. If they had won, they'd have galloped away from us with the games running out, and we ended up beating them 5-1. It was a mudbath of a pitch, I remember, and we were outstanding. The attacking talent that we had that came off the bench, and all these rotational games, and the options we had. We really made a statement that night, and clawed our way back into the title race, if you like, into the playoffs situation. And from that day on, I kind of thought something special is going to happen here.
Yeah, that was the first of 9 wins in 11 games, including that playoff final. 1 withdrew, only 1 loss in them 11. That was some run.
Yeah. Nothing seemed to deter us. I remember going to St James's Park and getting spanked quite comfortably. But maybe that game, playing in front of 50,000 fans, put us in good stead for what was to come in the coming weeks. The City Ground game at Forest in the playoffs, ultimately the Wembley game. So maybe we learned a lot from that. You always learn a lot more in defeat, I think, or failure at times. So that didn't put us off. We went back to the drawing board after. I remember coming in, the week after and speaking about it with the manager as a group, because that's what we always used to do, review the performance, review the games. He loved to speak, he loved to talk. And, we put 1 or 2 things right that possibly went wrong on that day, and that kind of galvanised us again. We kicked on again. And, we got over the line in the last game of the season against Bristol City, and then I don't think there was anything or anyone going to stop us in the playoffs, really.
Yeah, those Nottingham Forest games were an epic in themselves, weren't they? Going to the City Ground on that night, that second leg, and there's probably so much confidence from the home side, and probably fired the team up to go and achieve what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the games well. The Forest at home game was a Saturday lunchtime, obviously on Sky, and We went a goal behind. It was this carnival type atmosphere. The flags, the horns, Hoggy the drummer was banging away. It was just this inevitability, if you like, about we were going to perform and we were going to win. Whether that was going to be enough overall, having to go to the City Ground second, if you like, we didn't really think too much about. We just thought that day, let's go and put a performance on and let's get a win. And obviously went a goal behind. Chris Cohen's lovely strike with his left foot. And then we just gradually dragged our way back into the game. I scuffed one in. Probably no bigger goal I've scored, I dare to say. With my left foot, half dug up the sand on the 6-yard box, got half a contact on the ball and it looped in. And I think from that moment on, we just grew and grew and got stronger. And we were the better side second half. And straight after half time, Charlie scored the penalty. So there was a feeling that, it's another game. We're in really good form. We weren't scared of anything or anyone. And we won the game 2-1. Job half done. Let's go to the City Ground now full of confidence into a really, really tough, hostile stadium to play. And let's go and put on another show 2 or 3 days later.
Obviously some sensational football that night at the City Ground. Quite a lot of Blackpool fans watched it back a week or so ago, and a few picked up on the fact that there was still some long balls in that, but that was always a Holloway tactic, wasn't it? That diagonal from the centre halves, and if you don't win it from there, you play off the second ball.
Yeah. Worked on it day in, day out. Always had a plan, did Ollie. So Charlie helped in that in terms of him being able to hit them diagonal long raking passes from one side of the pitch to the other. Centre backs worked on it, Evo, backs. And like you say, it's what happened after the longer pass. The pieces, if you like, of the puzzle were all in a place that we didn't win the first one. Myself or the left back on that side, Stephen, or the right back, Seamus, whatever way the ball went. We always seem to be able to pick up the second phase, which, eliminated their midfield. I'm probably talking tactics too much, but we always had a plan. It wasn't off the cuff. Nothing ever was with Ollie. We weren't predictable. That's what I would say. We passed the ball. We like to play short and through the pitch, but, if the space was there, we'd certainly hit it longer over the top or diagonally wide. Where we had players at the top end who could hurt teams. So yeah, everything was pre-rehearsed, if you like.
Obviously, and then to Wembley and sweltering temperatures. What do you remember about the battle in that game?
Yeah, I remember being very, very hot for a fair-haired, untanned, ginger person, if you like. I remember being very, very tough physically. I remember walking out the tunnel and the fire lanterns were on in the tunnel, and that just intensified the heat. And walking out to this arena, this stage of tangerine at one side and blue at the other side, and we knew that we'd play well. I think that was a given. You never know that you're going to get the end result after playing so well, but there was always this feeling within that we'd score goals. Certainly, a lot of fans will probably say we give them kittens with the goals we conceded or the chances we gave up, but that was the way we played, Stu. We played with a freedom, with an energy. There was spaces between units in the pitch, so it was tough defensively at times, but we always knew we had lots of goals in us, and we could always bounce back from a goal down. Earnshaw in the semi-final second leg, 1-0 down, 2-2 on aggregate, within the blink of an eye. I think there was always this mentality that Ollie inbred on us that, don't be affected by what happens. You go a goal down, you go 2 goals down, you just keep playing, you keep doing the same thing. It was that mentality that we had every minute, regardless of the result at that time, just to keep doing the things that we practice on the training ground over and over again. So we had that repetition in us. So, to lose a goal, to go a goal down, didn't really deter us. Probably inevitable, if I'm being honest. We always had that fight and that spirit to get back into the game.
Yeah, the big word for the season was probably belief, wasn't it?
Yeah, belief. Yeah, I think we've come that far and we had achieved that much. I think we just got the performance right. I think we verging on a win. I think the performance was the key. Could we make passes? Could we hit them diagonal balls? In that heat, we were a possession-based team. Could we keep the ball off the opposition with us three in midfield, three high strikers? We had ball-playing defenders. Evo was as good as anything in the league in terms of carrying the ball out through the pitch. Seamus was electric, obviously. Baptiste went on to have a great career. Stephen, Craney at left back, could all handle the ball, the players at the back end of the pitch. So all comfortable in possession. Can we keep the ball away from Cardiff in that searing heat? Can we make them run? And I think we did that first half, especially. Got our noses in front with Brett with a lovely toe poke finish, and then second half, basically for me it was just could we get the job done? Could we get over the line? I remember the second half being played, or we were defensively in the shaded area with the stand overlooking the pitch, which seemed to help. It seemed to be a lot cooler in that area, so maybe we were better defending a little bit because we weren't as susceptible to heat stroke, I think, as we pushed into their half. But yeah, I mean, it was tough. They were a top side, championship side. That's good players. But we had that character and belief just to get over the line and see the job through.
Obviously, a dream come true for every player to achieve what they did that day. But what was it like for you, the journey you'd been on with Blackpool, and then obviously someone like Ian Evatt as well, who'd both done it from League One up, and you both going to get a chance in the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing for me personally. It was amazing for all the lads individually, for their families, for everything that they'd done in their career. This was the penultimate in their career. But it just seemed extra special with Evo as well. You know, I'd been on that journey with Evo years earlier, 2006 when he arrived. Got promoted from League One to the Championship, and here we were in 2010. Set to embark on the best day of our life, so it was really special with him as well. Rachubka was involved, although he didn't play in the game. Rachubka was involved. He was another. He'd been on that journey with me, also, and Evo. You know, we come from League One, so it was really special. But just everybody, we had that bond. I think the team, the core of the team, had been together for so long. Stu, you know. Craney joined 2007, our first season in the Championship. Baptiste joined 2007, I think I'm right in saying. Taylor Fletcher, 2007. So for the large bulk of the short-term period leading up to that game, 2010, we'd all been together. So it was a really special moment to achieve something like that with your friends and with the people that you'd built upon season on season, eventually to get to Wembley in front of thousands of people, millions watching around the world, to play in the promised land the following year. So yeah, I mean, words can't really describe what it was like. It was so special.
On a stage like that, to get the Man of the Match award as well, that's some statement.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought I did okay. I thought I had a decent game. Probably suited my game. The second half, the way it went. We were leading. I could win some tackles and put my foot in and break play up, and probably help me, you know, probably make me look a better player than I probably was at the time. But yeah, I mean, it's a memory that I'll cherish forever. I got a lovely trophy for it, you know, and it'll just. I remember coming out after the game back onto the pitch, and my photo was on the big screen at Wembley, you know, saying Man of the Match. So I was immensely proud, but I was proud of everybody, you know. Been at the club a long time. I'd had 8 years prior to that moment on a journey from League One with various managers, with hundreds of different players. So to get to that point, you know, I was quite emotional. Crying and waving at my wife in the top tier of the stand, and then seeing my little boy afterwards, and meeting friends and family in the after-do. So it was pretty emotional because I'd spent that much time at the club, and it was a part of me, and Blackpool will always be a part of me now. But to spend 8 years and then get to the Premier League was incredible, really.
And just in terms of that period and working and being Holloway, is that the biggest thing that's opened your own eyes and your mind in terms of what you're doing now in coaching?
Yeah, he was the light bulb moment at 28. I can't really say that I would have went into coaching. I didn't. A lot of coaches now will look back on their journey and say, right from the age of 21, 22, I knew I was going to go down that route. I honestly never, at 28, didn't think I would become a coach. He just lit something under me that I never knew I had, in terms of belief that he gave me. I could do things that I hadn't previously done. He opened my eyes to a different way of football, how things could be done differently to get an unbelievable feeling at the end of it. And he had so much enthusiasm and passion for the game, and he intrigued me in terms of his tactics. Why are we doing this? How are we doing that? I had so many discussions with him, some not always pleasant, about the way we were doing things, but he could always back it up with how we were doing it, the footage that we were playing, and then the footage afterwards. Well, look, he did this, and these are the end results. So I was intrigued, really. So I'd probably credit him also with giving me. He didn't just give me my best moment in football or best season of football. I'd also credit him with giving me the drive and the belief to go on and then after football become a coach. So I've got a lot to thank Ollie for, really.